Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. So for this one we're going to go back to Brewdog, and I thought I'd take a break from doing the 4-pack beers. I just reviewed IPA is Dead and Unleash the Yeast from 2013, and I will review IPA is Dead from 2014 for you in the coming days. But we're going to go and have a taste of a beer called Hello, My Name is Vladimir. Of course, Brewdog have these Hello, My Name is series, and they've done quite a few of these now. Very, very nice beers, but this one was actually produced for the Sochi Olympics, which is quite interesting. So as is usual then with my beer reviews, I'll just take you through a very brief history of Brewdog. I've reviewed a number of these beers before, so it will be a very, very short history, but as always, if you are simply interested in the tasting of this beer, just fast forward a few minutes and you will catch that. The brewery website's in the video description for you below, as always, along with the link to my other Brewdog beer reviews, and if you want to see more Brewdog beer reviews, then just subscribe to the channel and you will see them appearing over the next little while. So anyway, Brewdog these days they're largely considered the flag carriers of Scottish craft brewing, and they're the largest independently owned brewery in Scotland these days. I think they're producing over 100,000 bottles of beer that are going all over the world. But they were founded back in 2007 in Fraserburgh, in the very northeast corner of Scotland, by James Watt and Martin Dickey, and in 2012 they actually moved their location to Ellon in Aberdeen, which is about 20 miles or so to the north of the city of Aberdeen, oil capital of Europe. But these guys are a very cool brewery. They're very known for being a very experimental brewery, influenced of course by the American craft brewing renaissance, and they're very known for being experimental. You know, any style of beer you can pretty much think of, they will have done it at some point, and they do like to experiment with different ingredients and things like that in their beer too. Very famous as well for strong beers. They held the title of World's Strongest Beer 3 times with Tactical Nuclear Penguin, Sink the Bismarck and The End of History. You've probably heard of those beers, but they also have a lot of brew pubs all over Scotland and England these days. They opened up their first one in 2010 in Aberdeen. In 2011 they expanded down to Edinburgh and Glasgow, and their first bar opened in London, and since then they've expanded in pretty much any major city in England these days does have a Brewdog bar, and they very recently opened one up in Cardiff, which I believe was their first Welsh one, and they've also opened a new one up in Dundee in Scotland too, and they've got a few international locations actually as well, which is Stockholm and Gothenburg in Sweden, Firenze in Italy, Roppongi in Tokyo in Japan, and also Sao Paulo in Brazil. So the people still at the World Cup will be enjoying that, no doubt. But the brewery, they've actually, one of the more recent interesting developments there is that they've actually opened up their first bottle shop in London too, and apparently they will do that in Aberdeen as well, which should be quite interesting. But another cool thing about this brewery is that they listen a lot to their fans, and you can buy into the brewery through the Equity for Punks shareholding scheme, and that's how they funded a lot of their sort of infrastructure development. That's how they essentially built their new facility in Ellon, a really modern purpose-built facility. They did that through the Equity for Punks scheme. As I say, you can buy into the brewery, and the different levels of shareholding that you take allow you a bigger discount in the brewery shop and at the bars and stuff like that. So a very, very cool way, and they do really listen to their fans. These guys, as I mentioned, are pretty much the flag carriers of Scottish craft beer today, and you know, they're a very, very good brewery. We can't say anything, you can't really say anything else about Brewdog other than that. But the only downside to them, I would say, is with all this experimenting that they do, a lot of the really good beers are only produced once. The core beers, I think, should need rotated a little bit more, but they're the one-off beers that they produce really are very, very good. But anyway, that's your sort of brief history of the Brewdog brewery. We'll get on to the tasting of this guy now. So just to give you a little bit of background actually about this beer, as I mentioned to you, it was produced for the Sochi Winter Olympics just a few months ago, and the idea behind it, you can see that if I bring up the camera and just let you see the artwork, Vladimir Putin's had makeup and things put on him there, and apparently in Russia there's been some very sort of backward and oppressive legislation put in against gay people, and as you can see, I'm not sure how well you can actually see it in the light, it says on the bottom of the beer there, it says not for gays. I'm not sure how well that's coming up on the camera, but the idea behind this is that this legislation has gone in Russia, and it's very anti-homosexual, and it's a very backward attitude these days, in my opinion. The Scottish Parliament's just introduced gay rights, and the only complaint I have about it is they should have done it a lot sooner. I mean, but Vladimir Putin, of course, has a very, very backward opinion of gays. And what was quite funny about this beer actually was there's a picture. If you go and read the blog when they released this, Brewdog always said they're very pro freedom of expression and things like that. People living their true lives, which is obviously the right way to go. But what they did was they actually sent a crate of this beer to Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin, and I think there's a picture of one of either James Watt or Martin Dickey. I think it's Martin Dickey actually. There's a picture of him holding this crate that's addressed to the Kremlin with this beer, and the crate's wrapped in this sort of label as well, which is quite funny. So Vladimir Putin essentially got a crate of this beer. But let's actually go on to the stats of this beer, if you like. It's an 8.2% imperial double IPA, however you want to describe it. The malt base of this guy is extra pale and caramels, and it's hopped with citra. And the twist in this one is limonic berries, and apparently these are they increase your sexual performance, if you like, and they say on this blog as well that apparently they think that this would be beneficial to people in the Kremlin. Of course, they need to improve their sexual performance, and I mean it's quite funny. There's nothing against Russian people or whatever, but this kind of, I agree with them wholly that the attitude against gay people that kind of exists in Russia is quite dangerous, and it's completely the wrong attitude. I mean, you get a lot of some of these fundamentalist churches and things doing that, and it's, in my opinion, it's completely wrong. But let's get this guy open and get on with the tasting here. An 8.2% imperial double IPA, citra hops, limonic berries, and of course a little bit of citra hop in there too, caramel and extra pale malts. I've just realised I forgot to read you the little blurb that goes on the side of this one here, so we'll just get this out and I'll just read that to you there. So the blurb that's on this one, it says, "Hello, my name is Vladimir. I'm a bareback double IPA. Gasp as I ride semi-naked on horseback through the Siberian tundra and straight down your throat. I'm 100% hetero and will pass laws to prove it. Drinking me gives you the energy, ignorance and dogmatism required to shoot a deer with your top off, go river fishing with your top off, and pass internationally denounced discriminatory legislation, top optional, before you even had your caviar breakfast. I contain sexual performance enhancing limonic berries, power only to harness by those engaging in the opposite sex, of course. From Russia without love, Vlad." So obviously a big dig at Vladimir Putin there. So quite funny actually. I did find that really funny, and you can see the pictures on the beer with Vladimir Putin with all his makeup on, of course. But I'll just bring up the light and actually let you have a little look at the colour of this beer. It's a really nice sort of, it's a hazy sort of golden amber colour here. I think that's a good level of light that you can just see how bright this beer is. It had a nice finger of a slightly off-white head, maybe just you would maybe describe it as a creamy colour rather than rather than being white, of course, but you can't see through it. If I put my fingers behind it, you're not going to see through it there, but it smells beautiful actually, very, very fresh, and there will be some unique berry aromas in here which you should be able to pick up. Yeah, I don't really know how to describe it to you, but you can smell these limonic berries in here, and they're very, very unique. It's almost, it reminds me of some of the fruit juice I used to drink in Germany that had maracuja in it. It smells maybe a little bit like that, but I'm not the best at picking out the sort of individual fruits, if you like, so don't take my word for it. As I would say with a beer like this, just take a little bit and smell the aroma, you will get that. But I mean, you've got some orangey citrus in here, a little bit of grapefruit, and the sort of piney resin too. If you sugar it up a little bit more, you're getting a lot of that kind of it's almost blueberry smell. It's almost somewhere between maracuja and blueberry actually, these limonic berries. But it's got a really nice unique sort of blueberry limonic bready yeasty malt base in there. The caramel, I'm not really picking up on the caramel. There should be a bit of caramel in there with the caramel, but it's very, very subtle if it's there at all. I'm not really picking it up actually. But very, very unique smelling beer. As I would say, just whenever you try a Brewdog beer, they're always very big on the aroma, so just give it a smell and see what you think about it. But this one is really unique because of these limonic berries. As I say, it's almost a kind of, it reminds me a little bit of somewhere between maracuja and blueberry, but this limonic berry you're kind of smelling it more in the sort of malty end of the beer, but it's not too sharp on aroma. It's more in the deeper part when you actually sort of properly breathe it in, and you can see the sort of foam on the head here is just kind of, it has just kind of gone down a little bit there. So let's give it a taste and see how we get on then. Yeah, very hoppy beer. First thing I'm noting is that it's a very oily mouthfeel. It's very nice actually, the mouthfeel, I really like it. But it's very hoppy and very fruity as well. The fruits aren't too punchy actually. It's got just a really small slight acidic taste in there, but it's mainly the pine resin, and so there's a little tiny hint of grassy character as well, I think. Yeah, the pine resin's just lying in at the back of the beer quite nicely there. But yeah, those limerick berries are definitely coming out in the more malty section of the beer. It is, as I'm saying, it almost tastes like a cross between sort of blueberries and maracuja. This fruit, this limerick berry, is somewhere in the middle of that. It's really interesting. It's a very unique flavour, and that's one thing that's a bit annoying about these series of beers. They put these really random berries in, and it's very hard for you to describe the flavours of these. I mean, all you can say is really it's limerick berry, but people don't really know what you're talking about when you do these things. But yeah, it's very, very fruity, very hoppy. There's a nice little bit of piney resin in there, just a tiny little bit of kind of acidic fruits, but very grapefruity. There's not really any, the citric orange is just very, very light. It's not a very sharp orange, it's not a very sort of tangerine orange in this one. It is just mild and very blended together. I would say with this one that the fruits are very well blended together actually. There's definitely a bit of toasted character in here as well. The bready malts in this one are toasted, and the caramel malt is actually coming out quite a bit more than it does in the aroma, I would say. The sort of alcohol warmth that you get in the mouthfeel actually helps bring that out, I would say. But yeah, the caramel, the toasted bready and caramel malts with this kind of limerick, blueberry, maracuja fruit is sitting in the middle of the tongue there, just right at the back, and you've got just this little bit of kind of slightly orangey, piney freshness. The piney freshness is actually kind of sitting at the top of the mouth, just on top there, but around the edges you're getting a little bit of that kind of orangey freshness to it, I would say. And it's really nice, this one. It's a very complex flavoured beer actually. Yeah, I would go with that. Pine resins are coming out just around the edge of that kind of area of the tongue, where you're getting a little bit of the caramel malts with these limerick berry fruits and the toasted bread. Very complex flavour beer, you know. Just try this one and just enjoy it. It's very, very nice. I do like these Hello My Name Is series beers from Brewdog. But the mouthfeel, I would say, it's definitely mid to full bodied. It's the carbonation of it there's not too much there. It's quite a smooth beer, this one actually. And it's got a nice alcohol warmth to it. That helps bring out the caramel malt, which you really don't notice in the aroma of this one, in my opinion. It's got a very oily mouthfeel. This is this is probably one of the most oily beers I can think of actually, but I really like that when it comes to these double IPAs. I think it helps bring out the sort of caramel malt base a little bit more, and it balances the beer better. But it's very smooth. It's a very well done beer. Overall, I would say to you, it's a very interesting and unique beer in that sense because of these limerick berries. But that's exactly what Brewdog are going for, and they've got this one very well balanced in my opinion actually. And I really like the sort of smooth and oily mouthfeel that goes with it. I think it goes very well in sort of bringing out certain aspects of the beer, such as the caramel and things, and also the fact that the malt base, this limerick berry seems to kind of reside, the flavour of it seems to reside a little bit more in the malt base, and that kind of mouthfeel that they've given it helps bring that out just ever so well. So it's a very, very good beer, this one. If you do get the chance, then I would say give this guy a try. Very, very nice beer, like I say. The one that they did to commemorate the Sochi Olympics. So give it a bash and see what you think. As always, let me know in the comments section below your own thoughts on this beer. But I thank you for watching my beer reviews. I hope you found this one informative and you've enjoyed it. If so, please subscribe to the channel, and you will see more Brewdog beer reviews come to you in the future. But yeah, like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. You've been watching Goddard Radio Moscow beer reviews. This has been the Brewdog. Hello, my name is Vladimir. Not for gays apparently. But thanks again for watching my beer reviews, and I will catch you again soon with another one. Cheers.